Hi everyone, it's datboi. Welcome back to my channel. YouTube. I enjoy making videos as well as consuming them, and one of the content creators on this platform that I constantly visit and check out their new content is Anthony Fantano, the internet's busiest music nerd. Honestly, I'm a fan because of his very extensive knowledge on music related stuff, his humor, and his well spokenness. Like the way he talks and analyzes things in such like a very precise and articulate way just fascinates me to no freaking end. And honestly, I try to learn from his well spokenness as much as I possibly can, but honestly, I don't think I'll ever get near that level because that truly baffles this little thingy in here of mine. Yeah, Anthony Fantano is pretty top tier. His content is awesome. I enjoy a lot and I learn from a lot. Yeah, just one of the greatest content creators that I look up to a heck ton. He's like a internet daddy figure of sort to this little boy right here. It didn't come out right. That said though, ain't nobody perfect. Not even Anthony Fantano, despite how awesome and respectable he is, to me at least. You see, us humans, we are unique in the sense that we have different worldviews, and that with that comes different perspectives on certain things. And so sometimes you will find yourself in a disagreement with another person when it comes to a certain topic. And I guess it goes the same way for me and Anthony when it comes to like some of his music takes regarding a certain artist or a certain album that I just flat out disagree with. But at the end of the day, that's okay. Differences enables some pretty interesting situations. Not always, but quite frequently. And that is precisely why I'd like to make this video. Recently, Anthony has dropped on his second channel, Fantano, a new video series called The Most Overrated slash Underrated Albums of the Insert a Decade. And because this overratedness and underratedness must be relative to something, the point of reference that he uses is a website called Rate Your Music, which I recently made a video on. If you have a lot of time, you can check that out. But if you don't, that's okay. That video is like more of a like off the cup type video where I just wing it and not having prepared anything. So the video is kind of badly delivered and it's kind of bloated. It's kind of long, unnecessarily so. And for that, you don't need to check out the video if you don't feel like it. As far as Rate Your Music goes, I think it's a pretty good website for archiving your the music that you've listened to I guess write reviews and to rate stuff, if you're into all that stuff. Yeah, it's overall great despite some drawbacks, but nothing is perfect. So anyways, back to the main thing. So for this video series, his first installment would be him talking about the most the most overrated slash underrated albums of the 2010s. While I didn't have much of an issue with his underrated pick being the Jack White album Boarding House Reach, because one, I didn't know a whole lot about Jack White. Two, after finishing that video, I went and checked out the album, and from what I've heard, being the first track, I thought that it was plenty cool, and I plan to listen to the album in its entirety at a later point. However, the part that I took issue with, the part where a person who had no enemies began to pick up some, was his overrated category, where he had to pick one of my favorite albums as the pick. and that album is none other than the 2018 release Crumbling by Midair Thief. I'm so hurt. And so I thought we'd take a look at this together whilst I share with you guys some of my thoughts as to how I feel about certain takes of Anthony as a big Midair Thief enjoyer. And for the record, I have given this album like a 10 out of 10. Is a 10 out of 10, boy. I just think so. I just think it's that good. And without further ado, let's go. Okay. Most overrated slash underrated album of the 2010s, picking a couple of the most overrated and underrated albums of the 2010s according to RYM. Without further ado, let's dive straight in.
Hey, hi, and hello, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you are doing well.
Yes, I'm doing super well. Thank you, Anthony. I'm doing very well so far.
Filming and putting out to you a brand new series that I hope you guys find interesting. Drums Up, some discourse in the music nerd world. The concept being that I go on rateyourmusic.com. I go through the charts of user ratings and reviews and pick out what, in my view, is the most overrated album for a given decade on the site, and also pick what I think is maybe the most underrated album for that decade too. Pretty cut and dry. You guys get that, right? You understand that concept? I hope so.
Yes, I do. And I'm about to get my worst nightmare ever.
I imagine so. I don't think it needs further explanation than that. In this video, we're doing the 2010s. So yeah, let's look at the record that I thought was the most overrated and the one I thought was the most underrated. Okay, for the overrated category, it was a bit of a tough pick because honestly, if you look at the best albums of the 2010s on rateyourmusic.com, there are some records that, I'm pretty infamous for not really enjoying.
I'll say
And
that
I think
My
that
Beautiful
if I
Dark is
were
not a
forced
6 for
into
sure.
choosing one of those
Jesus is
albums,
not a
I think
5.
that it would be maybe just too obvious. I didn't go with either of those records because honestly, my opinions on them are pretty well known, and I think that
Yes, and going for a completely different album is a very good thing for sure. And I wonder what could it possibly be, right guys?
putting one of those in this section here would have been maybe just a bit safe because, again, you guys know what I think about those albums. Haven't really changed how I feel about those albums all that much. What I decided to do instead was commit some severe rate your music blasphemy. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Midair Thief album, Crumbling. Now, look,
I don't know, man. Like, this is probably like the worst freaking thing that Anthony Fantano has ever done, like in the entire history of his content creation career. Like, oh, yeah.
we'll link you guys to Midair Thief's music down below if you want to check it out for yourself. You might enjoy this record more than me. And
I enjoyed this record more than you, infinitely more than you, man. Holy hell. Ah.
And for sure, I think there are some positive things that can be said about the record from this anonymous South Korean producer and multi instrumentalist and songwriter. I see the appeal of the album. I get why it has caught on in the internet age, but is it like a top 50 album of the decade? I just don't really think so.
Hold on, Anthony. That's cap. That's cap. That's cap. Like I'm so mad right now. I'm like seething with rage and anger. This album, while sure it's not like the most innovative thing of throughout the decade or whatever, but I do certainly believe that it is absolutely worthy of a spot in a top 50 album list. Even when it's the bottom spot of 50, you just capped. You just MF Doom all capped. Holy hell. Okay, top albums of the 2010s. Boy, let's go. Okay, T-Pab, Good Kid. Okay, let's just keep scrolling down. So many classics up top, but so far I still have not seen Zero. Almost almost four. Let's push for it. Let's go. Oh, here we go. Number 30. Crumbling. Sitting at 3.91 right now at 15,464 ratings. Not bad, but it definitely deserves a spot in the top 50 for what it is. Honestly, okay, let's check out the rest. Okay. Oh, all my heroes just barely making it. 51. Probably this thing deserves to be in top 50. I'm not too sure. More veteran. I think veteran deserves the spot more. But I might be wrong though. Well, I adjusted the webcam position. Yeah. But overall though, I'd say Midair Thief and Crumbling definitely deserves a spot in, yeah, in top 50 for sure, for real. But let's keep going and see what he has to say. He has more to talk about going into the video that, I have also have some more to say. So
Don't really think so. I can give it to the album for bringing forward a cute, somewhat homespun, bedroom pop ish fusion of folk music and electronics.
I guess I definitely did not disagree when he said bedroom pop fusion or whatever, because like, I mean, for me personally it feels more like a dream pop, but uh bedroom pop and dream pop, they do kind of cross over in terms of the dreamlike production. So yeah, I'm not that mad when he when he said bedroom pop, but I definitely refer to this album, if anything, that is pop related as dream pop as opposed to bedroom pop. But uh let's keep going.
There are some pretty dynamic recordings and performances on this record as well, especially in the case of the longer tracks that come to some really gratifying peaks and crescendos.
Case in point, these chains crumbling together, like when these tracks reach like the point where they just have this really like lush string sessions and some really just really dense arrangement with a lot of like synth going on, a lot of just there's a lot of sounds going on. You're just like fully immersed in the soundscape, and that is truly beautiful. Yeah, so this it's a really good remark right there.
But I think there are some glaring flaws to this record. While the production on this thing is
Although I've given this album like a 10 out of 10, I don't think it's a flawless record. And like generally speaking, when I give like uh I guess some any form of art a 10, it's just that I don't know, I feel like I can resonate with this piece of work as much as I possibly humanly can. And it's not necessarily about perfection for me, which I think I could discuss about like how I rank and rate things in another video. But I guess TLDR, it's not really about perfection, and 10 out of 10 for me does not equal perfection and flawless, you know. But yeah, personally speaking, yes. All right, so the flaws, let's hear them.
I think there are some glaring flaws to this record. While the production on this thing is impressive and is detailed, the vocal melodies often are not that great. The vocal performances are kind of dodgy. The instrumentals are nice and pretty and pleasant.
Okay, let's just backtrack a little. Yeah, he has some really good things to say about the production. Yeah, this album is probably some of the more detailed, crisp, liquidy, and punchy records that I've heard. Like, I'm truly impressed with the production. But what I'd also, I guess, a word that I would also use to describe the production would be ethereal. This thing is very dreamlike. Listening to this album is like experiencing a hallucination. It's like, having a daydream. It's so, I guess, I kind of hate the word, but it's so immersive like that. I just, sometimes I just close my eyes and feel. It's just, for me, it's just that good. When you listen to this album, it feels like it's just you and the music. And it's like, you know, there's like no distance between you and the sound. You and the sound just become one entity. I don't even know how else I would describe this album, but to say that the I guess but I guess in short, the production is just truly incredible, and I don't think I can really get enough of it. And yeah, lovely production. But let's address the elephant in the room. He followed by saying that the vocal performances weren't that great, and he used the word dodgy, which I guess doesn't really make any sense to me. And let me explain. So first of all, sure, I do think that the vocals are a bit shy, a bit frail, a bit delicate at times, but they indeed fit very well with the rest of the album. I mean, like other elements, the instrumentals, essentially. And honestly, I feel like that might have been the whole point, for the vocals to be very shy, frail, and it's like it's gonna break into smaller pieces at times, because it feels more ethereal and dreamlike that way, and it blends in well. Like I said, it blends in really well with other elements of the record, and I cannot imagine the vocals being anything different. Like you cannot sing like an Iggy Pop or an MC Ride or like a Rihanna, Beyonce or whatever, um, you know, in this album here, because it's not going to work. So I guess while you did truly point out the fact that you, I guess, did not enjoy the vocals that much, I would like to, I guess, perhaps know what you think would have worked better here in the case of this album, because like I just cannot like imagine another stylistic approach to the vocals here. It just doesn't make sense otherwise for me. Honestly, this is already very ethereal, very dreamlike due to how like thin and frail the vocals are. And honestly, the female vocalist, she did a very great job of, I guess, creating this chemistry between herself and midair. They bounce off each other very well, in my opinion. And I'm pretty sure she goes by the name of Summer Soul. She has quite a few decent pop tracks too, so you might want to give her a go if you're interested in like looking for some new artists. And I will say this: the moment when she first popped up in the first track, Why, I was like, oh, this is the type of female vocals that I yearn for in records, like very soft, sweet, and pillowy, gentle. It's so good. Like she bounces off midairs like a weak ass male vocal type so well. Like, god damn. So yeah, I just have nothing but compliments, but nice things to say about the vocals here. So I kind of cannot relate to what Anthony has to say, but I guess we'll have to agree to disagree here because I just find the vocals to be amazing and as good as it gets. Mm. All right, so that's it for the vocals. Let's hear the rest of the things that he has to say.
Performances are kind of dodgy. The instrumentals are nice and pretty and pleasant, but I don't really come away from this record all that impressed with the songs.
And I wonder why, because, yeah.
And once more, to further drive this in, I don't think the album's combination of electronics and folk instrumentation is all that novel or groundbreaking. Like, you have albums lower in the 2010s list that arguably are way more adventurous combinations of these sounds, like Sufjan Stevens' Age of Odds, and I'm not even a huge fan of that record.
Okay, sure. I guess that this album is not that novel in that sense. Well, it doesn't really have like an innovative combination of genres, and it doesn't have any like unique musical ideas that can be considered envelope pushing or groundbreaking for sure. But like I don't really understand why it could be bring up as a point here, because like it doesn't take anything away from the record. Now, I guess he sort of like brought this up because like some people just go ahead and call this album like the most unique, mind-blowing experience ever. Sure, it's unique, it's mind-blowing, but yeah, sure, I do agree with Fantano in that this thing isn't very isn't very innovative and envelope pushing in terms of like utilizing new ideas and crafting just freaking awesomeness out of thin air or something like that.
Look, if you're a big fan of like Broadcast or The Microphones or Grizzly Bear's Yellow House, I could see this album also appealing to you. But do I think the record is as essential or as adventurous or as envelope pushing as those albums? Not really. I'm
Yeah, and I do give this to Anthony here. He's absolutely right. If you've heard like the Glow Part 2 or Mount Erie or I guess that Grizzly Bear album, which I haven't heard anyways, but if we're and I have not heard Broadcast 2, but if we're like talking about the innovativeness, the creativity, and as well as just a bunch of other things that are related to how new and just how like unprecedented uh, an album musically sounds, then yeah, I'd say that wow, Midair Thief is exactly what I could ask for from uh like an enjoyment standpoint. I yeah, it's not like something I haven't heard before, but there's like a nuance to it that I will touch on later as he goes on and talk more about a few more things. So let's go.
I'm not even really sure if the album is as adventurous as, other folktronic projects that, yeah, sure, are in a different style. But hey, look at any album from the books or like, some of Fortet's stuff, namely the record Rounds. And look, while I think Crumbling is a pretty decent folktronica record,
Okay, so yeah, let's talk a bit about the books. Well, interestingly enough, the book was, I guess, it was like a recommendation from Anthony himself. I I found out about it from one of his like TikTok duo videos where he collabed with another creator and recommends some folk albums, if I remember correctly. And I was so intrigued with the cover of that the book album, so I went and checked it out. I think it's called like Food for Thought. It's really rustic. It's very, yeah, it's a very rustic, grounded, and intimate record that can, yeah, it honestly, when I heard it, I just thought, oh, this kind of stylistically clears Midair Thief. But not really. It clears Midair Thief in certain aspects, and it kind of doesn't in others. So let me explain. While that album can be very rustic and it could be like it could freak out, like for example it can go from like very gentle like plucky string sessions to freaking with all the percussion and strings and synth uh balling together into like a blob of I don't know, consciousness and voices and sounds that is truly mesmerizing and hypnotizing. The album is just amazing, but what it doesn't do is that it doesn't make me feel like I'm having a hallucination, like living out a dream whilst being awake, like what crumbling does to me. If we have to understand something, is that crumbling fulfills a niche that not many, if any, other folktronic albums have ever done before. Like, it manages to be super dreamy, super ethereal, whilst being a little bit wacky, quirky, and uh, yeah, it's so special like that. And sure, it's not a new combination, a new innovative set of ideas or anything like that, for sure. But what it is something very special and as of the moment irreplaceable. If you want like a very ethereal, dreamlike folktronic record, I don't think I can like think of another record like this one, like stylistically. This one is a one of its kind sort of record. Period. Sure, as much as I love the books and my microphones, my I'll check out broadcast and I guess some Sufjan Stevens works. I have not heard uh as much of Sufjan Stevens' music, although I've been thinking about getting into him as of late. But yeah, just another random thought of mine. But yeah, TLDR. Crumbling does something in its respective niche, which is ethereal qualities in a electronic record. And that's all I care about. And yes, like being innovative, being boundary pushing, being groundbreaking isn't the be all and all of an album in order for it to be like considered a masterpiece, in my honest opinion. And more than anyone else, Anthony should be able to understand that very well, since he's given the album Kids See Ghosts a 10 out of 10. While that album isn't anything new or innovative or, push the boundaries super hard in terms of what could be done within the genre of rap music. That album is just two artists bringing the best out of each other. And so it's an awesome record, or masterpiece, at least in Anthony's opinion. And it is nothing like what the, I guess, Death Grips The Money Store has done to rap back in 2012. So there's also that. While I do agree that being innovative and groundbreaking and envelope pushing is the thing that should happen in music in order for artists to, I don't know, introduce like new heights into what's already been considered like the good stuff, the staples, and try to like bring music to another level. It just like sometimes the innovativeness of a record is a bit like overrated. Yeah, I said it. A record just needs to be super well done with like a bit of like nuance to it. And in this case, the ethereality, I don't know, being super dreamlike for a folktronic record. That synth tone, I don't ever get enough of it. The vocal chemistry between Meteor and Summer Soul ain't nothing to be sneezed at. I'm totally floored and impressed from start to finish. Like overall, this album is just it's a rare breed. And I mean, I would gladly disagree with Fantano because like he is very reasonable about his take. So I find it hard to be mad at him for not enjoying the Meteor Thief. Even when I just think the take is so whack. Like I kind of hate the take, not gonna lie. Okay, so let's just finish this overrated take, and we'll finish the video here.
While I think Crumbling is a pretty decent folktronica record,
I mean, yeah, sure, it could have been worse in your eyes, man. So I'm gonna take this as a yeah, it's a pretty cool take, but it's also really interesting that you have pointed out the fact that this album ain't not new in terms of the musical ideas. I absolutely love that remark about this take of yours. It's right on the money. I feel like yes, this album for me is a personal favorite due to the nuances, as I have tried my best to express my opinion. Some people just have to act like this thing is unprecedented or something like that, and I honestly disagree. Yeah, no shot.
is it like the best the genre has to offer? In my opinion, no.
Yes, it's not the best the genre has to offer in terms of newness and innovativeness, sure, but other than that, I disagree. This album is awesome.
And as a result of that, I think it's kind of one of the more overrated records of the 2010s and just on the platform generally.
Yeah, sure. I'll gladly disagree with you, and I absolutely respect your take. I think it is interesting. Again, I'll say this again, an interesting take that I just failed to see eye to eye with. But at the end of the day, you have given some of your valuable insight to viewers like me, and I appreciate that. And yeah, that's about it. That's all I have to say. And if you liked what you just saw, please like and subscribe. That would make me super happy. Love y'all. Dat boy out. Ciao.